Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to episode 5 of Calendar, though we will discuss momentarily the new situation we find ourselves in. This has not been a good day, and I will tell you, I am devastated. But before we get into that, let's introduce ourselves. I am Timothy Oliphant.
I am Timothy Berkowitz.
And welcome to the show. Some very distressing news today. I did not want to have to open a show like this, but let me tell you, we have been a part of Calendaring Troop 4077 for the better part of, I would say, 3.5, 4 years. I don't have an anniversary.
Something like that.
I'm actually feeling a little remiss that I don't have an anniversary date on my calendar for that. I should know that date, but not anymore. Not anymore. I'll tell you, I'm not going to keep track of that date anymore, and I'll tell you why.
What? Yeah, tell us.
You, as you know, Mr. Berkowitz, the Calendaring Troop 4077 has made the decision to change their organization, and I use the term organization very loosely.
Oh yes. Yes.
They are now they're no longer a calendaring group. They are a scrapbooking group with a concentration in calendaring. That, in my opinion, I feel like that makes them as bad or worse than even the Belleville Craft Emporium, where we go to
yes.
to pick it.
Yeah, worse, I would say.
I would definitely
say worse.
And to make matters worse, speaking of the Craft Emporium, they have partnered with the Craft Emporium to get a discount on scrapbooking supplies. And now the protest that has been postponed and postponed and postponed is now off. They have canceled the protest and are partnering with these people, partnering with them. I feel like it is just a stab in the back to everything that we stand for.
I'm agitated. I'm downright agitated.
I'm more than agitated. I am really agitated.
I mean, you feel like you know people, and then
I did. I do not feel like I know them now.
Yeah. I counted some of those people as, and I'll say it because I open myself up, moderate acquaintances.
I would count one or two of them as close acquaintances, even.
Really?
I would. I would.
Okay. And I mean, you think you know someone, you open up to them, and they turn around and just, I'll say it, they stabbed us in the back. I'll call it that. I'll go that far.
They stabbed us in the back. Absolutely right.
I mean, people that were moderate acquaintances, one in particular, I feel like was just like a hitman sent to just do me in, and
to do calendaring in.
Well, yeah, I consider my emotions an extension of that.
Calendaring was murdered today.
Yes.
Murdered.
Yes, fair point, friend.
So, I need to catch my breath.
Yeah, take some time. I need a drink.
Because of that, my dear friend Timothy Berkowitz and I have been talking, and I think we have come up with a real treat for the listener. A real treat. We're hurt by this, but we are not going to lay that on you. We're not going to make you sit here and listen to us complain about that. That's just not our style. So what we've decided to do, and I'm going to let Mr. Berkowitz here take over in a second to explain it to you, is we're going to change the entire format. Well, not the format, but the context of this podcast, and we're going to do something very, very special for the listener. So go ahead and take it away.
So I mean, calendaring is a passion for both of us. I feel it's certainly not our only passion, but it is the main one. So I thought, why not explore another avenue or two, particularly two that maybe synergize with each other very well. So I was thinking, you have introduced me to the world of sewing as of late.
I have indeed.
And
puppets mostly. Puppets mostly. It's puppets.
Puppets. Yes.
That's puppet sewing is one of my passions, but
right. But yes,
that's not the only sewing we'll do, of course.
No. I mean, there's blankets, there's cushions, there's pillows, which some people might call cushions, but they're different.
Socks.
Let's be honest. Socks, cozies. There's a number of things.
I love a good cozy.
Oh, who doesn't? I fancy myself a bit of an...
I fancy you too.
Oh, thank you. That makes me smile, especially on a day like today. That really brings some sunshine to my eyes.
It really butters my muffin.
I do love that phrase. I fancy myself a bit of an amateur comedian. So I thought
I would consider that as well.
Those are so intertwined, not on the surface, but they really are. That what if we did that for some content? We brought those two items together. Can I see that mug again? That is a fancy mug.
This is another one of Midgie's mugs. I don't have any mugs of my own. Midgie loves a good tea mug, and that is a good very one. Skilled at picking them out. So I thought maybe for this first episode of the new podcast, in stitches, is that what you called it?
So in stitches, and that is, I mean, at the surface, it just sounds like sewing, but there's a joke there. There's a double meaning if you really think about it.
I will think about that. I will.
Yeah, please do.
So just to kick this off, I wanted to share with you a few things that I've gotten to prepare. One of the things I've picked up is this tape measure. It unrolls. You can measure things with it. You can measure things up to whatever the length this is, starting from even as small as an inch. Wow,
that's a good amount of stuff.
And these are just a few things that I picked up at the Belleville Craft Emporium.
So did you already own those, or are you going back to the
Emporium? Oh, no. When you said that we were going to do sewing, I went to the sewing aisle.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm surprised that they don't call it the scrapbooking with fabric aisle. But I'm sorry. I'm getting us off track.
That would not surprise me. They do. They have partnered with the scrapbooking ilk and aligned themselves with the cesspool thereof, and it would not surprise me if they started changing a lot of the things to call them scrapbooking sewing supplies or something.
Yep.
So this, as I was showing, is a fabric cutter. It's easier than taking the regular scissors. Can, in my case anyway, can kind of cramp your hand if you're working too hard on that. So this, you really just extend this little blade and it goes right across.
You could use that to cut pizza too.
A small pizza, maybe.
Yeah, not deep, not a deep dish. You'd be handle deep in that thing.
You would be handle deep in it.
Yeah,
but you definitely wouldn't want to cut material with it after you cut the pizza. You'd want to wash that first.
Well, that pro tip. That's a good tip for the listener.
And this, I believe, is the absolute heart and soul of what we're doing with the sewing. The needle and thread. This is
Yep.
a medium-sized needle, a green type of thread. You'd want to use that on, say, a green fabric or a fabric of the green tinge or the green family.
Yeah, you could do. Now, is it acceptable? I'll ask that question because I will admit I'm a bit more of a novice when it comes to the sewing world. Is it acceptable to use that with a complementary color so that the stitching stands out?
I've never done that. I have not intentionally. I've never done that. I have on many occasions mismatched colors and sewn something that looks a little awkward, I'll say, because you can see the stitching and it stands out. But if you did that on purpose, I think it would have its place and it could look nice. But if you did, I would explain to people every time you showed them something or every time they saw it.
Yeah, of course.
That was your intention.
Of course. Well, it makes me think I have a pair of Wrangler jeans, I believe they are, that have some pretty pronounced stitching. And so to accentuate that, I have a couple little doodads on the jeans that really draw the eye to that stitching. It's on my hip mostly. It draws the eye right there, and so it really stands out as a prominent piece. But you know what? That's another tip. I have never told anybody that stitching stands out on purpose, and they probably think that I've gone off the rails.
You messed it up. They think you messed it up.
Right.
But I think you just hit on another possible podcast topic: doodads. Adding doodads to your sewing,
or to your comedy,
One
of the funniest. I mean, for my money, it does not get funnier modern day. Now, I'll step back to a comedian of yesteryear that I think is just as talented, but it does not get funnier than one Mr. Jeff Dunham. And he has the puppet doodads. You talked puppets too. That is one place where our comedy and our sewing could come right together.
I am very, very passionately not a fan of Jeff Dunham. He really, I find his work offensive. Not his jokes, but his puppetry.
Oh, his puppetry.
I find his use of puppets to be integral to some extent to his comedy, and I do not like it. I do not like it. I saw a billboard of him driving to the Craft Emporium, and ruined my day. This was months ago.
He was driving on the billboard?
No, I was driving to the Emporium, and I passed the billboard.
Right.
And I don't even remember. I couldn't even remember what I wanted to get at the.
Right. That makes a lot more sense.
I'd like to take a step back here and have you maybe re-explain that with using an example, say like Sesame Street. Sesame Street has magnificent puppets, and they're very funny. They
are. They know they can hit a funny bone on occasion. I will say that.
They can.
So I think that one of the things that you have to remember when it comes to comedy is that
make it funny.
Make it funny. That's important. That's step number one. Step number two, and I can see your point, I guess, with not every comedian being for everybody, is that you don't want to push the envelope. You want to stay in a safe space. You don't want to overstep your bounds when it comes to humor.
I would agree with that. I would think that if you said something that rubbed someone the wrong way or made them feel offended, you would lose that person as an audience member.
Right. And yeah, I mean, how is that funny? That can't be funny.
If you think back through history,
Mm-hmm.
some of the best, most successful comics
Right.
were never offensive, did
Right.
not say anything that would make you feel bad or ashamed or really even think that hard. For
Mm-hmm.
example, Bob Hope,
Right.
a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Don Rickles, very
Oh
funny.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Very, very, very by the numbers.
yes, Sam Kinison, another
Yeah.
uh, success story. Andy Kaufman,
Yes. Yep. I very much so. One of my personal favorites, Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby. Yes, we
Straight
listened to his
shooter.
records. As a kid, we listened to his records all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to watch his show, his television program. I know you
Yeah,
don't
I
have a
Spy. I
television,
remember.
but I know you don't have a television now, but I mean,
I did
it's a
remember it
little
when I was
harder
a
to
when
find
I was a kid.
nowadays. I don't know if it's just fallen out of fashion or what, but I used to watch it on a number of stations and in syndication, and I can't find it anymore.
I haven't seen it either, but that's mostly because really because Mitchie doesn't let me use her TV very often.
Ah, mm-hmm. That's fair.
hmm It is
Yeah,
fair. It is.
yeah. But
She
I
bought
mean,
she
yeah,
bought that TV with her own money, so
yeah. Well, that's good at least. She's not spending your hard-earned money to buy a television.
agreed.
Right. But to my point, Bill Cosby, just a real stand-up fella, straight shooter, never offensive. I
Kind,
mean, yeah.
a
What was
great
that?
a great father. If
Absolutely.
you remember
Absolutely. Yeah.
a great father figure, if you remember
Hmm.
the show that you were referring to, I Spy, with Robert Culp, a great, uh,
Oh,
great,
yeah.
great sidekick.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. You know, the another comedian that I think just at the top of his game, even now, um, in the yesteryear, but still, I think one of the most prolific voices in comedy.
Mhm.
Have you heard of a fella named Carrot Top?
I have not. I have not heard of him.
Oh, he is. This is back to what I was mentioning. He likes to use doodads, and boy, does he hit the nail on the head, so to speak, when it comes to humor. 10 times out of 10.
That reminds me of a comedian I used to like who used a lot of doodads and watermelons, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Gallender.
yes. Yeah. He, even now, yeah, he is still at the top of his comedy game, I think.
That's
He's a little bit older now, but
after seeing him long in the past, I would imagine that's true. Another of my favorites. Never, I don't remember him doing a lot of stand up, but he was very good in the movies that he did. Yahoo Serious.
oh, yeah. You know what? So Carrot Top and Yahoo Serious look like they could be.
Australian.
They do. Yeah. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
think at least one of them is.
Yeah. Maybe Carrot Top is. I don't know. Maybe Yahoo Serious. I don't know. But they look like they could be related, is what I was getting at. They could be, at least third cousins, I
At
would
least
say.
third cousins.
At least.
Possibly once removed.
Maybe, hopefully. But yeah, there's just so much comedy that could be accomplished while sewing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And I think those two
Agreed.
could go hand in hand.
Now, I will warn the listeners, if you are participating in comedy while sewing, one thing to be careful of is too much jocularity while sewing with a needle could cause you injury. You could stick your finger or
Mhm.
some other part of your body. So be careful about that. I want to do the public service right up front. Be careful with sewing needles.
Yes. Um, Also, you don't want to get, if you're sewing while doing comedy, don't get your hands up here to sew. If you're examining a stitch,
Mhm.
don't try to continue the joke. That makes it hard to see, especially if you're using doodads and you're holding up a blanket you're sewing. You may not see the doodads that you're using to achieve your maximum jocularity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'll just agree with that. I'm not sure I'm following it, but I will agree with it because I support you in your sewing of doodads and your standing up.
Thank you.
So so
Oh,
SCW.
see,
So
I see what you did there. I saw there's something there.
just a part of my comedy.
Yeah.
Still working up to the real good stuff, but I think you can see where I'm going with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to touch back to something you said a minute ago. Now, would you propose doing your actual stand-up comedy while sewing? Like in front of an audience, would you sew while you're performing?
That is intriguing. I will admit, I was just sort of talking with you as if we would be doing both concurrently,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe there's something to be said for just sewing prior to the stand-up performance and not at the same time.
We could think about that and maybe focus that for focus on that in another episode.
Sure. I think you have something there. Maybe separate the two a little bit and then weave them. That's not sewing. That's dumb. I'm sorry.
That's weaving.
That is.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. I'm gonna cross that one out. I had that one written down as a possible joke.
Oh,
I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And I am crossing this out in pen. I have converted the last half of my personal calendar to a joke notebook. And I use pen and I cross out because I think when it comes to comedy, there are no bad ideas. You say the first thing that comes to your head, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be gold. I think most comedians would tell you that. So anyway, I was thinking a good place to start might be you, the master sewsman.
Sewstress?
Sewstress. Sorry.
Sewster. Maybe I'll be a sewster.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, I think that's right. It feels right, if nothing else. Maybe you should start by telling the viewers, talking through some of the more common sewing terms that they may encounter on our new format.
How about some techniques?
Or some techniques, either or. Yeah.
I have one that is a great place to start. Almost the core or root, if you will, the center of sewing. And that is, let me point out this needle. That's a needle. It's got a little bit of thread attached to it. But this principle or technique would be where you would take this needle and you would push it through the fabric and then pull it back down through, leaving a small space between the two holes. Moving it, you would do that all the way up. Now let me take a step back here. I did not say, and should have, that you would want to take the 2 or 3 or however many pieces of material that you want to sew together. You'd want to put those together in exactly how you want them before you start pushing the needle through. That technique of pushing the needle through with the thread attached and then pulling it somewhat tight so that it stays firm, that is actually what is called sewing. So that is the core technique you'd want to.
Okay.
And it takes some time to master that.
And you want to pull it taut, you said, right?
I would pull it taut. If you leave it loose, it's just things are gonna fall through that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna hold together the way that you want it to.
No, and you want it to hold together, much like comedy. You need comedy. You need a continuing thread.
Continuing thread of comedy.
Right.
So that would all be on the same topic, or possibly circle back around.
Oh, right, yeah. Like
Because
going back and forth. We don't really circle, but
you do circle in both comedy and in sewing, because when you get to the end, if you're sewing a pillow, say, you would sew around the edges, moving the needle in and out with the thread attached all the way around, all 4 or 5 or however many. Maybe you're doing an octagon and you'd have 6 sides.
right.
You'd go all the way around, and you would circle back around to where you started.
Well, that sounds comforting.
Another pro tip for anyone just starting out with sewing.
I said that sounds comforting because you were sewing a pillow.
If you make it comfortable, it would be comfortable.
Yeah.
Comforting.
I see.
So another pro tip that I would offer is, if you are making a pillow, don't circle all the way back around. Leave a small space to put your filler, whether it's the fluffy stuff that you buy at the Emporium,
human hair.
Human hair is another good one. Old clothing. I will caution you, if you use socks or underwear, you want to wash them first, probably with some bleach. You'd want to use bleach in that load of laundry.
That's another good pro tip. Yeah. So you could. I thought I had a joke. I don't. I think you're frozen up, Timothy.
I'm not.
Oh. Fair. My mistake.
Okay, well, I think that was a great episode, a very good first start. It did, in some ways, help me get past the issues that I'm having with the former calendaring troupe, 4077, because it is going to take a lot to get through that. And I think your comedy and maybe some of my own could be the answer to that, the key to getting us through and working through that misery, that incredible disappointment.
I agree.
I heard you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, this has been Calendar, newly transformed into In Stitches, with my friend Timothy Berkowitz, and I again am Timothy Oliphant, and we will see you on the next episode of Calendar, transitioning to In Stitches next week, same time, same station, and we hope to see you there, and have a wonderful week.